Imagine rushing your father to the emergency room, panic seizing your heart as he clutches his chest. You beg for help, but your pleas are met with indifference not because of a lack of resources, but because of the biases woven into the very fabric of the healthcare system. Now imagine Will Smith stepping in like a real-life hero, fighting for justice and fairness. It sounds like a scene from a blockbuster, but this is no movie. This is real life, where discrimination and negligence intersect. Stick around to hear how one man's courage, amplified by an unexpected ally, saved a life and ignited a fight for change. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because stories like this shine a light on issues we can't ignore. The waiting room at Unity General Hospital was a symphony of discomfort. Harried mothers wrestled with restless children, the elderly sat in weary silence, and the air was thick with the smell of antiseptic. In the far corner, Robert Hayes, a 62-year-old retired schoolteacher, leaned back in his chair, his hand pressed to his chest. His daughter, Mia, sat beside him, her phone clutched in one hand as she nervously tapped the armrest with the other. "Dad, hang on," she whispered, her eyes darting to the desk where a doctor sat, typing away on a tablet. Robert's labored breathing grew louder. "I'll be right back." Mia marched to the desk, her heart pounding as she faced Dr. Kevin Tate, a middle-aged man with a graying beard and a stethoscope slung over his shoulders. "Excuse me, doctor?" she began, her voice trembling. "My dad's having severe chest pain. He's been waiting for over an hour. Can someone please see him?" Dr. Tate didn't bother looking up. "We're triaging patients based on severity. He'll be seen when it's his turn. But chest pain is severe," Mia exclaimed, frustration seeping into her tone. Dr. Tate finally looked at her, his expression flat. "Miss, I've been doing this for years. Sit down and wait like everyone else." Mia's cheeks burned with indignation. She returned to her father, who was visibly struggling to breathe. "We'll figure this out, Dad," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. Suddenly, a ripple of murmurs swept through the waiting room. People turned toward the entrance, their faces lighting up with recognition. "Is that Will Smith?" someone whispered. Mia glanced up, her eyes widening. Sure enough, there he was, Will Smith, in a casual hoodie and cap, walking in with the effortless charisma that made him a household name. He scanned the room, his eyes landing on Mia and Robert. He walked over, concern etched across his face. "What's going on here?" Mia hesitated, then blurted out. "My dad's having chest pains, but they won't help us. That doctor said we have to wait." Will frowned, his jaw tightening. He turned to Robert. "Sir, hang tight. We're going to fix this." Then he strode to the desk, his steps purposeful. "Excuse me, doctor?" Will began, his voice calm but commanding. "This man over there is having chest pains. Why hasn't he been seen yet?" Dr. Tate looked up, his irritation evident. "As I've already explained to the young lady, we're following protocol. He'll be seen in turn." Will tilted his head slightly, his eyes narrowing. "Protocol, huh? So your protocol says you can let someone with chest pain wait until it's too late? Or does that just apply to people who look like him?" The room went silent. All eyes were on them now. Dr. Tate's face flushed. "Sir, I don't appreciate what you're implying. We treat everyone equally. Do you?" Will's voice was sharp. "Because from where I'm standing, it doesn't look like it. You're playing with this man's life, and that's not something I can just watch happen." Dr. Tate shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, I'm following triage procedures. I'm not going to prioritize one patient over others just because someone famous tells me to." Will smirked, though his eyes remained cold. "This isn't about me. It's about a system that's broken. And if you won't fix it, I'll make sure the world knows." He pulled out his phone and began recording. "Hey everybody," he said to the camera. "We're here at Unity General Hospital, where a man with chest pain is being ignored because some folks don't think his life is worth prioritizing. This is why we need change in healthcare." Mia, inspired by Will's boldness, began recording too. Others in the waiting room followed suit. The tension in the room was palpable. Minutes later, a younger doctor hurried over, her face lined with worry. "Mr. Smith, I overheard what happened. You're absolutely right, chest pain should never be ignored. Let me handle this personally." Will nodded, his expression softening. "Thank you, Doc. That's all we're asking for." The younger doctor immediately called for a nurse, and Robert was rushed into an examination room. Tests confirmed what Mia had feared: Robert was having a heart attack. A swift intervention stabilized him, and he was prepped for an emergency procedure to clear a blockage. Back in the waiting room, Will sat with Mia, who was visibly shaken. "You did good, standing up for your dad," he said. "Sometimes you've got to push harder than you should have to, but it's worth it." Tears welled in Mia's eyes. "I don't know what we would have done if you hadn't been here. Thank you." Will shook his head. "No need to thank me. This isn't just about one man. It's about making sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." 5:47 that night, Mia uploaded the footage to social media, captioning it, "My dad almost died because of medical neglect. Thank you, Will Smith, for being our hero today." The video spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views within hours. Hashtags like #healthcarebias and #patients-deserve-better trended, sparking a nationwide conversation about systemic racism in medicine. Will also share the story, writing, "This isn't about me. It's about accountability. Healthcare should be fair, period. Let's do better." Under intense public scrutiny, Unity General issued a statement apologizing to Robert Hayes and promising a thorough investigation. Dr. Tate was placed on administrative leave pending review, and the hospital announced plans for mandatory bias training for all staff. A week later, Robert was discharged, his health fully restored. He and Mia visited Will at a charity event to express their gratitude. "You didn't have to do what you did," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "But you did. And you saved my life. That means more than words can say." Will smiled, shaking Robert's hand. "We've got to look out for each other. That's what it's all about." Inspired by the experience, Will partnered with advocacy organizations to launch an initiative aimed at addressing bias in healthcare. The program focused on educating patients about their rights and pushing for systemic reforms, including better representation in medical staff and stricter protocols to eliminate implicit biases. Weeks later, at a rally attended by thousands, Will stood before the crowd, his voice filled with conviction. "This isn't just about one hospital or one patient," he said. "It's about a system that's been failing people for too long. We all deserve dignity, respect, and the right to live. If you see something wrong, don't stay quiet. Be the voice that brings about change." The crowd erupted in applause, a powerful reminder that even in the face of systemic injustice, a single voice can make a difference.